isolated, lonely, and depressed. And so it went on from there. So Jez and me founded the charity. I did the paperwork. We went to Charity Commission. And basically, soon after, you guys came in. We were working on, I wouldn't say a shoestring, it was less than a shoestring. We had virtually no money, and we were really, really struggling. The guys kept piling in. So now, after this time, we have 500 members. Before the lockdown, we were getting between 50 and 70 guys a day. If you've seen the site, you'll know that's a lot. We work out of 3 porter cabins and an old railway carriage, run down, dilapidated, need of repair. The heating's not effective, and still every single day, guys come. What can I say? You guys have made the world of difference. When we first started, we were really working on paper. Both Jez and I were working for nothing. We had all the staff that were doing functions were all volunteers, and Jez and I were funded pretty much. Fortunately, the expenses weren't high, but we did go through about 3 tons of coffee and about 8 tons of sugar every day. I don't know what they were doing with the sugar. I don't think. Since then, we deal with guys in all stages of life, most of them in crisis, majority in crisis. If not in crisis, coming away from crisis or even going towards it. What we do is we have 9 principles. I'll try and remember them quickly. Peer support, that's big. So guys support each other. We encourage that. Guys talk to each other. And the main thing is these 9 principles really resonate with not only the guys, but also the agencies that refer to us. Like today, we had an issue during lockdown. My colleague now is going with a guy as we speak into a mental hospital. The guy's one of our members, and he's had a bad time since lockdown. He hasn't been able to get in. He's gone back to his addiction. He's also had, under his addiction, he committed some offences. The police are talking to him. His mental health is shot. He's sat there barely functioning as a human. He's not eating, and he's just smoking. He's been sectioned and he's on his way to hospital now, just waiting for a bed. What was the point I was making about that? That's why Jez isn't here. He's on call. Mm-hmm. But that's where we're at now. What we're doing is we've got 3 guys today who are on suicide watch. So, like, we've gone from a coffee club to an organisation that is providing the basics that are not there otherwise. I mean, before the crisis, we were dealing with between 50 and 70 guys a day that nobody else wanted to deal with. People had said, the doctors had said to them, you can't come in here because you keep losing your temper. Most of the guys that came have got issues. And the issue was the mental health didn't equate to what and how they should behave when they feel badly. So the assumption is that people can control their temper, people can understand what's being said to them and respond appropriately. A lot of our guys can't, and it's not unusual. There's a lot of them, and the thing is, these guys just slip in between the cracks, and that's why the mental health teams in Kirklees refer to us, doctors and clinical practitioners, the hospital, the police, the housing people, the council. They all refer to us. We are way, way busy. And the crisis has delayed some of our progress. We're not able to open fully, but we are still functioning. We do have people in. on one-to-ones. We are still doing outreach. We've got a 24-hour phone line. And the thing is that we've stepped up to the mark during this crisis, and we've employed extra people. We have people now who it's not just shopping, it's not just the basics, but it's like emergency visits. You've got guys I said there's 3 today that were on suicide watch. 2 of them have committed offences against a woman, and the other one, well, it actually is a woman, it's his wife. He attacked her, because the relationship at home was so bad, and he lost his temper and attacked his wife. So they're all domestic.
I think, Bob, I think the surprising thing for me, Bob, when when you were sort of saying this story, was that whilst all these existing organisations in Huddersfield refer people to you, that doesn't bring any funding with it. It's not as if you pick up, if Folly Hall, which is a local organisation for helping people with mental health issues, they get funding and they've got, offices and facilities and staff. I just find it a strange situation that they can refer people to you.
They get the funding.
And yet the money doesn't come with that.
Well, this is a dilemma, if you like, because some organisations get what we call commissioning funding. Now, commissioning funding means effectively that the state provide a lump sum of money. But the thing is, that's not entirely, it's not agreeable to us because of what it means we have to do. Thing is, if we go commissioned, then what we have to do is we have to change our service to fit their blueprint. And the thing is that their blueprint isn't working. Our blueprint is, because that's why we've got all these guys coming to see us in vast numbers of referrals, because our 9 principles, I only got through one, but our 9 principles work. Those 9 principles don't work with commissioning. So the people that are taking commission money have to work within that model. We are not that model. What we're saying is, and we're saying this to MPs, we've got all our local MPs are telling this story. And we want to go down to the House. Jason has said, we could probably go down to the House. But what we want to say is rethink. You're not working on a system that's working properly. You've got guys who've got more than one issue. So it's not just mental health. It's mental health, addiction, poverty, housing, relationships, and the rest, joblessness. So the thing is that what we do crosses over into all of these other areas. But that is also the way that we deal with it, because we look at the causes, not what happens, but we look at the causes. We look at the person, and that's what we deal with. The pastoral aspect is absolutely crucial. That's our fastest growing arm, if you like. And what we do is we see to the things that cause people distress. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's bills, sometimes it's understanding, sometimes it's paperwork, sometimes it's confidence. And we deal with all those aspects, and lo and behold, it works. What has been really difficult for us is all the guys that haven't been able to get down to see us during the lockdown. And we know that that's caused a lot of hardship and a lot of guys are suffering. We have also been dragged right across Kirklees because we've had call-outs from all over the place, including Barnsley and Wakefield and Sheffield, because there's like these huge gaps in welfare and care, and like we're a charity. So the answer to the question is we don't want commissioning. We want the commissioning to alter to be more appropriate to the people that need it. And the thing is that, like a lot of the people that we deal with are denied that because they are not very good at keeping appointments. We've got a system where usually you miss 3 appointments, that's it. And also systems that rely upon people that are at their lowest point to up their game to a point where they have to be proactive. Well, the thing is that when you're at rock bottom, that's not always possible. And we're finding a lot of guys who that is not possible. Also, we've got guys who are asked to go way beyond their education experience or competency. So we're getting guys who haven't got IT to fill out forms online. They don't even have smartphones. A lot of guys don't have phones. If they've got phones, there's no credit on. So half the guys that come in, it's a phone call that they can't make because they haven't got a phone, a smartphone, or they haven't got the internet. Is your internet working here today? Platform one is a common one, and we provide the internet. So you've got, you know, that, but the system assumes that everybody can access these things. They've got the wherewithal. I'm going on a bit, aren't I? Right. Well, I think I could go. Well, what I'll say is, I'll just finish up now. But what I'll say is, you guys, I know Ian, you've been down, but you really must, when we can, you must come and see us, because seeing it is actually believing it. If you see it, you will understand what it is we do. And the thing is, I say, it's not the structures, and it's not the buildings, and it's not the carriage. See the people, and that's the key to it. Because like what I've seen is the strangest friendships ever. People that you would never assume would find friendships with each other become almost like soulmates. Different backgrounds. You've got offenders, people who have been victims. You've got people that have been addicts. You've got people who've been managing directors. We've got a very skillful violin restorer. You know, we've got an MD of a big company. You know, like all different. And yeah, the friendships work. It really works, and you should see it. But what I'll say to you is, loose change. What you've done is absolutely amazing, because you allowed us to be. And the thing is that we will go from strength to strength, and we will survive somehow. I don't know how, but it won't be through busking. But we will survive, and it's thanks to guys like you that help people like us, grassroots charities who are really making a difference, and we are making a difference. And if you didn't do what you did and do, then we wouldn't. And I think that would be a damn shame, because a lot of people benefit. And I just, you know. So I would say, yeah, I think what you do is absolutely bloody fantastic.
Right.
So come down, please come down. You are welcome. We do like to show people around, because seeing is believing, and we get a kick out of people that come down and actually get it, and they get the fact that we treat guys with respect, we treat them with friendship, we treat them with kindness, we know their names, we say hello to them, and we're not put off by the fact that some of them are a bit smelly, that some of them are not always clean, that some of them don't know how to put a sentence together without an F in it, and guys that don't know the social graces. But all the guys have got two things, and two things they can do for us. People say, what can I do for you? They say, I've got no skills. We say, yeah, you've got two. No, the first one is you've got a smile. And that is absolutely priceless. When you're desperate, and believe you me, I know, because I've been that man. When you're desperate, a smile is absolutely invaluable. And the other thing is somebody to talk to you. When you're at rock bottom, and again, I know, when you're at rock bottom, when somebody talks to you with empathy, with sympathy, and will listen to you with friendship and kindness, priceless. So what you do is absolutely brilliant. I think it's great. I think what you do is absolutely fabulous. Thank you.
No, thanks very much, Bob. We are gonna get cut off in about 2 or 3 minutes. So
Yeah.
your timing was spot on.
Right.
And as Bob says, I have been, you know, I've been down a few times now, and it is fantastic what they're doing. And I think that the fact that the demands that are coming towards them is just pure testimony of the work that they're doing. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit in the wrap-ups. You know, Platform One have almost got to a size now where the amount of money that we have to give, whilst it probably would still be received, and it might be changing as you know through this situation. But the way that Platform One were looking to grow, you know, we the money could be redirected to smaller organisations in Huddersfield. So Jonathan will talk a little bit about some of the discussions we had around that, but we'll definitely keep in touch. And you know, if there may be other opportunities for us to support you down the road, Bob. But thank you for
thank you.
This.
Yeah, thank you very much.
See you in a minute. There you go.
Oh, got it.
Brilliant.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have here then are the accounts for 2019. So the year runs the 1st of January to the 31st of December. And we started the year with just over £10,000 in the bank, 10,175, as you can see in the bottom left. Our strategy really for last year was to increase the number of grants we made. We'd been successful at raising money, and we wanted to start and use that to greater effect and to make more grants than we had in the previous year. And that strategy, I think, was successful in that we finished the year on £5,808. So we halved what we had started the year with. So I'll just go through all the relevant sections of this document, starting in the top left-hand corner with the income. So in terms of the money that came from our supporters, you the members, paying £1 a week, there were between 65 and 75 members throughout the year or thereabouts, and donations from us all totaled just over £4,500, as you can see. We did have one or two other items of income as well, whether they were one-off donations that we've listed separately there, and also we were able to sell items that were donated to us for that purpose. And then we have been able to raise gift aid as well. Andy has helped with that and arranged all that, and that's brought in over £800. So that gives us our income for the year, top left. And then in terms of the money that we have paid out, I think the key thing first of all here is the charity runs without any costs whatsoever, which is fantastic. Every penny that we receive from you, the members, is used to make grants for good causes in Huddersfield, which is our purpose. So everyone can be really confident that no money whatsoever is used on anything other than the purpose of the organisation. So there are two items of expenditure there. The monthly donations totalling £4,680. That amount of money has gone to 3 organisations whom we helped with regular donations across the year. And then the one-off grants, that figure of 5,779, that's made up of 14 individual grants to 13 organisations. So one organisation got 2 grants last year. So as you can see there, we paid out a total of £10,459.99. So in terms of who the organisations were, we're okay to share that in, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's on the website. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So down at the bottom of the document there shows who the monthly contributions were paid out to, including Bob's Platform One, and there were 2 other organisations, and then we have a list down at the bottom there of the others as well. So we are in good shape as an organisation financially. We've met our objectives for 2019. And as I say, at the end of the year, we had £5,808 in the bank. Activity in the first couple of months of this year has been relatively light because of the pandemic and so on. So we have a little bit more than that as we speak. These accounts as well have been audited. We get them, as you would expect, audited independently, and that process has been completed obviously before the AGM. So there we are. Those are the facts and figures. Has anyone any questions? Anything anyone would like to ask?
No.
Have I missed anything, Linda or Andy? Anything you'd like to add on the gift aid bit, perhaps? Or
No, that's fine.
No. The only thing I would say, but Ian's probably going to mention it, is, as you say, the donations have been, the demand request for donations has been very light recently. But in spite of that, we've sought to get as much money as possible because we have a feeling that there's going to be a much bigger demand in months to come.
Yeah, we're always keen to hear from organisations, because we know, and we've heard from Bob, that the impact we can have, often with relatively small amounts of money, and therefore we know that we can help organisations, and we are in a decent position financially to be able to do so. So I'm really pleased with the way things have gone in 2019. Both financially and generally for the charity. So unless anyone has any further comments or questions, I'll hand back to Ian.
I just have one question, I guess, and that's what was the intention for this year prior to the pandemic? I mean, if you look at last year, expenditure exceeded income by about approximately £5,000. We started the year with £5,800. If you'd done the same again this year, there'd be virtually nothing left in the account. So what was the intention?
The intention for this year was to make probably the same number of grants, but not necessarily spend the same amount of money. We want to make sure that we keep a reasonably healthy float. And of course, we've got income coming in every month. So if we, for example, maintain around £5,000 on an ongoing basis, we know that we will be in a position to meet any upsurge in demand, perhaps, moving forward. So we were happy with what we did last year, and if we did the same this year, that would be good.
I think, Jonathan, as well, the significant difference that we talked about, if you just scroll back up a little bit again.
Yeah.
As Jonathan said, at the beginning of the year, last year, when we had the 10,000 in the bank, we set a target that we would like to halve that and keep about 5,000 as a in the bank. And exactly to your point, Steve, what we realised was that actually, if we'd have kept going at the same run rate, then we would have very quickly eaten into that. So the decision we took at the beginning of this year, which isn't really in the 2019, it was a discussion we had at the start of this year, is we reviewed the monthly donations. And what we've done is we've reduced those now from 3 to 1. So. Right. So that 4,000. So if we continue with about 4,500 income from members, we can still give out a similar amount in grants and then take 5. Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay.
So we should be able to continue to make probably the same number of one-off grants, Steve, that we did last year.
Yeah. And
thank you.
I'll talk a little bit about the logic there, Steve, as well as to a little bit of why we did that.
So
Thanks,
if
John.
I click on stop share at that point, Ian,
Yeah.
like that.
And again, a lot of this information is on our website. Our policy is to be absolutely open and transparent. So if anybody wants copies of these, or I mean, the copies from previous years are on the Charity Commission website as well. But if anybody has got any further questions, then we're more than happy to follow up after this meeting as well.
So, Ian, do people contribute the same amount or different amounts?
I would say similar, Phil. I think to start with, we set this idea of up £1 a week. So the vast majority of people who started perhaps in the first couple of years of the charity pretty much stuck with that. And that was fine, because that was the whole idea, keep it as an amount that people wouldn't notice. And then I think what we've seen is that a number of members, as they've seen what we're doing, quite a number of members have increased their monthly donation so well, Jonathan, I don't know off the top of your head, but I would guess about 20% of our members give more than the £4 a month now.
Yes, I would say that that's about right. There are all sorts of different amounts coming through. And as you said, most people started with £1 a week. Some people pay monthly, some people pay annually, and of those, some of them round them up somewhat. So, yeah, I would think that's about right, Ian.
I mean, I just wondered, would it be worth asking the people that are still contributing the initial amount to increase, would they consider increasing their contribution? Because I'm sort of guessing most of them would.
Yeah, it's a discussion we have quite frequently, Phil. I think my view is, no, it's a great question, and that's the reason why we keep discussing it, is because it does keep, it's probably not. My view is that the vast majority of our members are friends, acquaintances, or colleagues of one of us. And the fact that everybody has come forward in such fantastic way to support us, to me, is just overwhelming. And what I feel a little bit awkward about is going back to the same well, to those same people who have come forwards, and asking for more. I think, as I say, people who can afford it have increased the money. I don't want to put pressure on people who perhaps can't afford it. I think there are.
That's right. I get what you're saying, but I never even considered it, because it's just something that happens every month. But if you ask me to do it, and actually as a result of this, I probably will.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of think that most people that have contributed in the first place, if you just sort of said, would you consider increasing it, you could perhaps double. Yeah.
The other interesting dynamic here, Phil, and this is part of really what I was going to talk about. The other idea of the charity really was that it's low maintenance on both sides. It's low maintenance to run it, and it's low maintenance to be a member.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to go with that now. Need another glass of wine. There was something I was going to say. Oh, wow.
I think what we'd love to do, Ian, is to increase the number of members, isn't it?
That gives us a robust.
Reaching out to, but when you think how many people are in Huddersfield, it would be wonderful if we could increase the number of members.
Yeah.
If we doubled the number of members, if we could somehow do that and find a way of doing that, I think, what we'll be able to do.
I think the challenge is one of, could we increase membership? And if every member, or even 50% of the membership, were to attract one new member, that would actually have a bigger impact than asking existing members to contribute more money. And I think,
Absolutely.
you know, I think that's the big challenge, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Lisa,
Yeah.
you say something?
Andy just basically said what I was going to do is, rather than asking members for more money, is, you know, maybe just an email just saying, you know, laying down the challenge that could you introduce 1 or 2 new people to it? Because it's never occurred to me before now, but I'm sure, you know, with my family and my friends, there'll be somebody who would spare.
And here's the dilemma, right? Here's the I've actually remembered what I was going to say. Woo!
Hurry up before you forget
Don't forget it. It's really strange because we've got fantastic support, as Jonathan said, probably 70, 80 people supporting us, and we've got 4 people at the JGM who are members. And this has happened for the last few years as well. And so it's interesting that the members, the vast majority of our membership just seem happy with signed up, given the money, it's coming out of the bank every month. But there doesn't appear to be a huge interest in going any further than that. And then the other couple of interesting points were that we managed to get 2 articles, and one of them was almost a full page article in the local paper in Huddersfield Examiner, and the other one was a quarter page article. It had a massive photo of me as well, so anybody who knew me in Huddersfield, you know, would have gone, wow. We didn't get 1 new member from either of those articles. And then one other data point for us. So and this is sort of into this year, but obviously when we came into the current situation that we find ourselves in, I think as Linva has already alluded to, we sort of expected most of the organisations that we know of and have supported have closed down, or like Platform One are operating at a very reduced rate. So we were expecting very few requests through the sort of the lockdown period, but then we were fully expecting a bit of an influx of requests as organisations start to come back. So again, I haven't done it I think it is only about twice I've done it. So again, on my Facebook page, I put a request out in the light of the current climate and we're expecting, and that got 3 new members. So I think it's I think what I've come to sort of settle is that we're growing steadily, very slowly, but we're maintaining. We're moving slightly forwards. We took a big step initially up to about 70, 80 members, and we've sort of stayed there, but moved slightly up from that. And that's enabling us to do some fantastic things, and it'd be lovely to have some more money. What we give out at the moment, and we can talk a little bit about some of these stories we've heard from Platform One. I'm going to use an example from this year actually, but just as an example of the impact. So we gave a grant this year to a charity called Talk Through in town, who just needed some equipment pretty quickly to help with remote working, and they were under huge pressure because, like Platform One, they were doing a lot of their counselling services online, and it was putting a huge amount of stress on the counsellors. And we moved the money, and this is the other beauty of what we can do. We can move money very quickly. We don't have a hugely complex approval process. It's Linva, Jonathan and myself reviewing it and making sure it meets the criteria of the charity. So we got money to this organisation pretty quickly, and then the email I got back was to the words exactly, but along the lines of, thank you so much, Loose Change Charity, for the donation. I've just stopped crying because it means so much to us at this point in time. And that was it. And it was just like, wow. you know.
It was about £300, wasn't it? It wasn't massive,
Yeah,
but for them, it just changed everything.
yeah.
Ian, if you go on to talk about the different charities, because one of the challenges we've had is getting the message out, not the relationship between us and the third party that deliver the services, but the people who are actually the beneficiary of those services. And if we could get some soft stories out, because they are real, but in most cases, they are, but in many cases, they're vulnerable people that, or, you know, it's not easy to close that loop. But perhaps, Ian, if you talked about some of the situations, the charities,
Yeah.
the organisations, and we might think of ways that, you know, what the stories are that we could try to get out there, who we ultimately help, who everybody through their £1 a week just transforms the lives of these people.
And I think the beauty of it is, because it's focused in our local area, we really try hard, and you know, with the number of charities we're supporting, we can do it. We spread it up amongst the trustees, and so if it's a charity that we don't know, we try and follow up at some point after we've given the grant with just a visit, just to get to know them. Typically that actually results in another grant being given pretty quickly, because we'll go in and they'll show us what, to this point, what great work they're doing, and the charity that you visited, Linda, up at Golka. And then with Linda going in and talking to them, you know, what typically then happens is they'll say, well, we wanted to ask for £300 because we didn't want to ask for too much, but what we really needed was this and this doing. And typically
They didn't ask for any more money, they just assumed that they would carry on with 3 sewing machines instead of 5. But we paid them the money to get all 5 serviced, including the 2 fixed, and suddenly, for a few £100, they're off.
Yeah. And I think that was some of the learnings I took from the work I'd done at Cummins, right? It is about relationships. I mean, we never intended to be an organisation that just gives money out to people we don't know. The really idea was to build relationships, give money, and then we actually do quite a lot, probably of value add, in terms of signposting people to other organisations. Lisa, you help out a lot with that as well. You know, there are other pots of money out there that people can go after, and quite often they're not quite so sure, so we can do some signposting. I can sometimes leverage something from Cummins that we can't do from the charity. And we've also done quite a bit of IT work as well, which isn't, you know, funds being given out. But I also honestly believe by building relationships with these charities and getting to understand and know them, the fact that we are just here and trying to help is as big as the money we're giving.
Yeah,
it's amazing how many people we give money to say, wow, you know, that's fantastic in terms of the money, but what's even more fantastic is that you've rallied round 100 people in Huddersfield and Northern Ireland to try and help us, because ultimately we aren't delivering any services. The whole model of this is we are trying to generate funds to give to people who are really at the sharp end and are under a huge amount of pressure, and just trying to make their lives a bit easier and make them a little bit more effective, or even survive. And as Linda said, so very quickly going through last year's, and we might have to go into our third 40-minute loop, so we'll see. So I'm just quickly scanning down. Again, it's on the website. So we started off with Platform 1 in January, committing £100 a week for them so that they could plan, knowing that that was coming in regularly over the year. An organisation that Lisa knows very well, Left Jab Boxing, we gave them a grant to help them with, and they basically run junior. It's a charity that bit like a junior youth club around keeping fit and boxing training. Glint, yeah, okay, we've got another 10 minutes, so I'll try and get through this and then we'll come back just for the final wrap up. Glint, again, was IT support costs. This is quite a common one. You see a lot of charities that are using really, really old IT kit, and especially when they try to start working remotely in the current crisis, the kit's just not up to the task at all. Grow to School, again, some more IT support costs. That was 500, that was for a computer. Worth Unlimited, who do the children's cooking clubs, they were wasting quite a bit of food just because they didn't have a freezer to freeze food that they were given. So we gave them money to buy a freezer. Again, linked to that, not only do they do a children's lunch club, they do an elderly lunch club, but the people who would like to attend couldn't afford taxis to get there, and they used to have a local community bus that used to pick these people up, but the local community bus was redirected somewhere else. So we gave them £300 basically to pay for taxis just to get these people to the luncheon club every fortnight. And the vast majority of them, if that's the only time they get out in 2 weeks. So it was massive. Waverley Cafe, another charity cafe in town, they desperately needed a new water boiler and cooking equipment. They were making do on some fairly old kit. So again, donating about £500 to buy some of that. Pavilion Youth Club, this is an organisation that provides education for children that have just fallen out of the standard educational system for whatever reason. Again, they were wanting to do some sort of cookery classes alongside the normal curricula, so we bought them electric cookers so they could do some cooking classes. Colne Valley Addiction Support, we've actually supported this group now, I think, for about 3 years, so they need rooms to basically have their meetings in, and for the last 3 years we've covered their costs for room hire for the whole year. And again, that's just a massive weight off their shoulders, that they know that they've got somewhere to meet without having to do fundraising and that becoming a problem. Talk through again, funding for staff training. So we've done quite a bit with Talk Through on giving them money, which is helping them more effectively utilise the very minimal resources that they do have. So helping them with training, helping them with some office assistance in terms of consultation, just coming in and looking and seeing how they're doing the systems and can they help them. So our money is paid for that to happen. Meals on Wheels is an organisation in Huddersfield that delivers hot meals to elderly people, again, in their homes. Again, the last 3 years, we've paid their liability insurance every year. So again, it was another big cost for them on an annual basis. Bit of a worry how they could pay it. Just knowing that that's paid every year now, not guaranteed very clearly, but we're likely to keep that going as long as we can. Again, just helps them focus on delivering the meals and not worrying about how they can cover the liability insurance. Disabled Sports Club, very similar, insurance and hire of sports centre, so the disabled kids can use the sports centre. That was 500. Home Valley Caring Memories, an organisation working with elderly people, capturing memories, writing stories, pictures. Again, I think working with children as well on a sort of an intergenerational, funding their room so they could do that. And I've actually now, no, that's it. So that was the last one in 2019. So a wonderful range. And to Linda and Jonathan's point, right, we know these organisations support probably hundreds rather than tens of people. So what was it, Jonathan, 14? You know, if everyone's supporting at least 100 people, then...
Yeah, there were 14 grants to 13 organisations that are on the one-off grants. And then and another 2 on top. So yeah, so we helped, I think, 15 organisations in total last year.
Yeah. So I'm going to suggest we just log off again. Just come back in one last time if you're all okay, and we'll get through the next official pieces before we get to 10 o'clock and let you all get to bed. I'll get fine. Oh, dear. So luckily we've covered most of what I was going to cover in my words. So just a couple of things we didn't mention. We didn't do a huge amount of additional fundraising last year, but that's fine because again it tends to be the same people that keep coming. There's only so much, so many money we can take out of the pockets. But we had a really nice celebration evening again at Longley Park Golf Club in the middle of the year. We had again a couple of organisations came, talked about what they did. We had well, she isn't working at Cummins anymore, but we had an ex-colleague at Cummins doing a singing again, and she brought her family along and were really good dancers. So we actually ended up having a really good dance as well. So we're really good, and obviously we won't do it this year, but that might not be a bad thing, and then we'll probably arrange another celebration night next year. We've started, not by intention, but it's just sort of happened. We're now sort of getting into an annual walk, few-day walk. It started off 4 days, I think, in the first year. We did the Kirklees Way in 4 days. It should have been 4 years, bloody hell. And then, unfortunately, last year's walk, we'd planned to do 2 days. The weather was absolutely atrocious. We battled it out the first day. I have never been so wet in my life walking. So we basically just threw our hands up in the air at the end of the first day, and I think we all stayed in bed in second day and listened to the rain.
No, we did half a second day.
You did.
We came to home first.
We got lost on the walk.
That was the first day, wasn't it? Did we do it half a second? Oh no, half a second day.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right, we did. You see, it was such a bad memory, I tried to blot it out, Linda. And yeah, I think one of the benefits of doing this by Zoom, and I think it's something we'll carry over into future meetings, is it's absolutely fantastic to welcome Phil, who has got to be the most unusual member ever. And as much as I think the one thing we had in common, I think it was in February, Phil, when we went on holiday. Phil and I were the only 2 idiots who actually went in the pool. We didn't go in. It was freezing. That sort of started the bonding, and then we had a couple of drinks, and yeah, Phil said after, he said, well, he says, send me details and I'll think about signing up. And I thought, yeah, I've heard this many times before, you know. And then true to his word, he got back home for a couple of weeks and he signed up, and he's been paying his money now. So for about it must be about 2 or 3 years, at least 3 years. I meant to look the date up.
Yes, at least that, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic, Bill, that you support it. And hopefully you've managed to follow most of the conversation this evening.
I have.
I'd also like to thank formally Linda and Jonathan, maintained as the trustees. We are all happy to continue, I'm pleased to say. So the trustees remain intact. As part of a formality, I don't know if we've got a quorum or not, but we'll go through the process anyway. We have 3 positions. We've got the chairman's position, the finance position, and a secretary's position. Now, we've never actually had an official secretary because there really isn't a huge amount to do. But if anybody desperately wanted to step into that role, I'm I'm more than happy to continue as chair, and Jonathan's more than happy to continue in
Correct.
the
Yeah.
role as treasurer. So formally, I guess, if we could we have any nominations? Would anybody like to put those names forward?
I'll propose those two names if you want, Ian.
That's very kind.
Yeah,
I was getting a bit worried then. Would anybody like to second it?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Philip. Marvellous. I guess the other two individuals that I'd like to recognise as well. So Andy, who, as Jonathan mentioned, he's part of our management team. So he comes along to the monthly meetings, twice monthly meetings. Really helps out with some of the sort of the admin side of things, particularly on the finance, and does a great job in pulling the gift aid money through and just moving that through the process. And it's a significant amount of money, you know, as you saw in the accounts, right? £4,500 donated and £800 extra with gift aid. It's a huge number for us. So thanks very much for that, Andy, and also formally to Phil Chew as well. So Phil's audited our accounts for the last 3 years. Does a great job. He comes back, he really goes through the numbers, make sure that we've got everything documented. And again, Andy, if you pass those thanks on to Phil, it'd be much appreciated.
I will do, of course.
Right, so questions and answers. If anybody's got anything.
Do you want another glass of wine?
Yes, please. That would be very nice.
There's a question and an answer.
Well, Steve said he'd like one as well, though.
This has just been delivered to my hand.
Phil.
Yeah, so Ian, are we eligible for lottery funding? Like applying the lottery funding for, for funding towards a charity?
I think that the difficulty we have there, Phil, is that because we're a fund generating body,
right?
It's almost like we're the middle person, right? So I'd be very surprised, Lisa might know better than this in terms of what's out there, but as a fund generating charity, I think it'd be hard to get. But what we can do is work back to this idea of working with charities we support. If they were struggling with a grant proposal, I mean, they didn't mention it in the introductions, but Linva is involved with a lot of organisations in Huddersfield as well, and is quite well connected. Jonathan did a year out of his work and worked as what they call a business connector for a year, funded by
Business in the Community.
Business in the Community. So again, Jonathan got a lot of sort of connection, and again, Lisa, who's on the call today, she sort of networks and does a lot in this area as well. So yeah, it's
okay.
Again, we've thought about, Phil. We do pick up like the little bits of money that we're shown in the balance there. Cummins had some old shirts that they basically auctioned off at work, and they asked us if we wanted, as a charity, would we like to take the money that generated? So I said yes, thank you very much. So we can pick those things up and then distribute them out.
Yeah.
Probably a challenge getting funding. Lisa, do you have any thoughts on that?
There's one or two funds that you could possibly to apply for, but I mean, obviously they'll be very competitive, just because there's so few funds that give money to grant-giving organisations. But it's not impossible, but you wouldn't be talking about big lottery grants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm happy. I've got a sort of quite a growing database of funders. I'm quite happy to keep an eye out and let you know of anything I see.
Cool. The other,
we have talked, Ian, haven't we, about whether or not there's small and medium enterprises that would be prepared to fund us to overcome their, you know, corporate responsibility, really. And we have talked about that, but it's actually finding these firms which is the big challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, that's spot on, Andy. That was just going through my mind. So the idea there, Phil, was that if there are organisations in Huddersfield, small organisations that haven't got the resources or the time to sort of invest in corporate responsibility, they could give us the money, you know, knowing that then it would get distributed into good causes in the Huddersfield area. Yeah. There has been one company that's done that, actually. It's not been a regular thing, but we did get a one-off donation. So yeah, that, to Andy's point, that's something we've talked about. We haven't actually moved that forwards yet, but again, it's something we can try. And if we sort of hit 100 companies in Huddersfield and we get 2, well, it's a result. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that we'd explored briefly because we just didn't get the hit, was whether one of those smaller companies would give their employees the chance to sign up. So they sort of supported their employees, sponsored them to sign up to us on a voluntary basis, in the same way that Cummins has, because Ian, you are in Cummins and you've got how many, you know, because you were able to talk to the people.
Yeah, there's one sat there at the bottom.
Because they couldn't escape. You know what it's like, yeah. But if, you know, we'd talked about Syngenta, we'd talked about other organisations, but maybe the SMEs, again, it comes back to the storyboard that we've got, and now we've got some case studies. It's making that real, and possibly some, just dropping some flies through the doors that may go nowhere. But
and that's it, Linda, right? I think what we're realising, it's a numbers game. You know, it's you just keep casting the net, and if we get half a dozen, that's great.
Well, there's nobody in my family to tap up.
But it's nice because there's no pressure on us in a way, you know, and that's what we wanted to do. We want it to be a low pressure activity. Jonathan says we don't have any costs. Whatever money we get, we can give away. And Steve, we did talk about, you know, if we were oversubscribed, I think we talked about it in last year's AGM. If we're oversubscribed, what would we do? And basically, we'd just say, like a lot of the grant-giving organisations do, we just say we are closed for requests for the next day until we build some more money up. So we can adjust, you know, we can adjust quite easily.
But coming back to your point, Ian, about, you know, it's sort of low involvement or
low effort.
Low effort. Thank you. You know, I mean, as you know, I'm still a trustee at the Mission, and seeing the effort they go through for their annual appeal each year, you know, which this year was try and get 300 companies to give £100 each. I mean, it's a huge amount of effort, and they very, very rarely get anywhere near the target. And
they're a pretty well known organisation in Huddersfield, right, who are recognised as doing great work. I think if you just listen to the news at the moment, right, there's so many people, there's so many demands for people to give money. You know, it's either on the news, it's on radio, you know, or it's locally. It's just huge. And so I think that leads me quite nicely on, and I probably didn't thank, but, you know, thanking the members. The members is brilliant. And like I say, it's interesting, you know, not everybody wants to come onto the AGM or come to other meetings or come to whatever, but that's fine. We've got a really good solid foundation, and we've lost a few, but we gain a few. But because we've got, you know, 80, 90, whatever it is, members, we can afford to lose a few. But, you know, on the whole, we are very slowly increasing the net numbers that we've got. And it goes up in spikes. You know, we sort of do something, and then the the celebration nights tend to sort of, if people come up, members, and they hear people talking and they have a few drinks, that's normally a good method of getting people to sign up. So, but it's just lovely to be able to help organisations. It's a great feeling when we're in a position to give money to an organisation.
Ian, could I just ask how does it work if I do find somebody who wants to sign up? If I get someone drunk and persuade them, what do I have to do? Because that would be the one thing at the moment, the barrier. I don't know. Is there a simple way? Is there something I can send them or?
Yeah. So I had a form on the webpage. So on the webpage, there's a button right on the home page for new members.
Right.
And then there was just a form that they filled in, very simple form. This is my details. I want to become a member, and that emailed me. Unfortunately, it got picked up by a few scam machines. So I was getting fairly nasty emails coming, being spammed on the account. So I've temporarily turned it off. But so what the button now does, if they go to the website, just it gives a little bit of information. There's a button now that says be a new member, and it just basically says please email my charity account email, Ian@Loose Change Charity, and then I'll just come back with the details.
Right, lovely. Okay.
We've talked about sort of electronic donations and things like that, but vast majority of them then charge you a commission.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of them charge you a sort of a base rate. So we've sort of tended to keep away from that. I think we do lose a few. It's a bit like fishing. I think we get a few on the end of the hook, and then they swim away as we try to go backwards and forwards with a couple of emails and ask them to set up standing orders. But I think the ones that we lose probably doesn't outweigh the fact that we'd have to pay a commission if we had the electronic stuff. So yeah, just email. I've actually got a lot of spare cards as well, Lisa. So 117 Design very kindly printed a lot of business cards. So I could next time I bump into you in Coffee Boy, I can drop it.
It opens on Saturday.
Oh! Social distancing.
I'll meet you in the car park.
We'll be all down there. Oh dear. Any more?
Ian, has the website got a method of doing the easy sort of one-off payments, or is that sort of manual process at the moment?
It is, John. It falls into the same sort of category that we could put something up, but then we'd be charged on those transactions.
Right.
So again,
I'm just really thinking, just from the sort of, you mentioned about the social media sort of side of things. You put something out there and you picked up a few regular ones on that forum.
Yeah.
Just if there's if there's an easy link to something we can share that they can do it automatically rather than having to sort of go into their own bank app or whatever. But then I also understand your reluctance to use your just givings or your Virgin Monies because of the charges that they're going to give you. Because I think I've found that sort of pretty successful way, just for picking up just like tenors, 15, 20 pounds here and there for running or whatever. So I'm not sure if we had something similar you could use.
And I think things are changing really quickly as well, aren't they? In that area, our costs are coming down. The commission, how much they charge is coming down. Perhaps it's something we could think about, John, just for sort of one-off events. Rather than being so like if we were doing the walk, we've talked about it. We don't typically do sponsorship for the walk, but perhaps we could just open it up for a one-off event like that and just see if we can pull some one-off.
Yeah, just have a big push. Yeah.
Or if we had something that we really wanted to do, for example, we've been talking about Platform One. If they needed a new something, and it cost £670 that we did a crowd.
Yeah.
And they could promote that as well.
They could do it, but we could do it for them, and
I think that's what's good about that is that sort of direct appeal, that it's not just money going vaguely to a charity. It's for something specific there, which people are familiar with. Yeah.
That's a good suggestion. All right. Well, just like to say thank you very much, especially the members who turned up, because without you, it would have been we'd have to have done it again, because I think we need at least 2 or 3 of you. So much appreciated.
Although, Ian, actually, to be honest with you, if any charity had an AGM and 5% of its members turned up at that, they'd be absolutely delighted.
Oh, there you go.
Good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's quality as well, Andy, not quantity. You've got a quality audience. Brilliant. Keep in touch. I'm sure I'll keep it. Well, I'll probably speak to John tomorrow. I'm sure I'll see Steve very soon. I'll see Lisa, Coffee Boy, and one of these days, Philip, we might get over to Northern Ireland, pal.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
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 Bye. All right.